So first off, a huge congratulations. Your child's Subclass 101 visa has been granted, and that is a massive milestone. A whole new chapter for your family is about to begin. But, that grant letter isn't the finish line. It's actually the starting pistol. So what happens now? Let's walk through the next crucial steps on this really exciting journey together.
We're going to break this all down into 4 simple parts. First up, we'll cover the absolute must-knows for a smooth arrival. Then, we'll unpack what it really means for your child to be a permanent resident here. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of travel rights. And finally, we'll look ahead to the big one, the path towards becoming an Australian citizen. All right, let's dive into Section 1, First Steps. This is all about making that first arrival in Australia as smooth and stress-free as humanly possible, right from the moment you start booking flights to the second you clear the border. Okay, before you even think about packing a single suitcase, let's talk about the absolute non-negotiables. You've got to have their valid visa, of course. You need a valid passport for the trip. And then there's the most critical piece of information of all, that first entry arrival date from the grant letter. Getting these 3 things locked in is the key to a stress-free start.
I really want to pause on this for a second because it is so, so important. This date, the one you'll find in your child's visa grant letter, it's a mandatory condition. Your child has to enter Australia for the very first time before this date passes. It's what activates the visa. So please circle it on your calendar, set a reminder, and plan all your travel around it. So once you've landed, the process is actually pretty straightforward. First thing, you'll need to fill out an incoming passenger card for your child. Everyone has to do this. Then it's off to immigration clearance. And here's a little pro tip. If your child is 16 or older, they might be able to use the automated smart gates, which can make getting through the airport a whole lot faster. And now for Section 2, life as a permanent resident. You've made it. You're through the airport. So what does life in Australia actually look like for your child now? Let's dive into their new status, what they're entitled to, and what's expected of them. Now, just let this sentence sink in. It's pulled directly from the Department of Home Affairs. The child can stay in Australia indefinitely. That one word, indefinitely, it's so powerful. This isn't some temporary arrangement. This visa is the bedrock, the foundation for your child to build a whole life in Australia for as long as they choose. And this really shows the balance that comes with that new life. It's a two-way street. On one hand, your child has fantastic rights. They can work and study, and they're protected by Australian laws. They can even access some government benefits, though just be aware there's usually a waiting period for new residents. And on the other hand, there are some really important responsibilities: obeying the law, meeting all visa conditions, and, crucially, letting the department know if your situation changes.
So when we say changes, what are we actually talking about? Well, the big ones are things like if your child gets a new passport, if another child is born into the family, or if there's a legal change of name. Keeping these details current isn't just a bit of admin. It's a really key part of maintaining the visa in good standing. Okay, Section 3. This is a topic that comes up all the time. Travel. Your child is a permanent resident? Fantastic. But what does that actually mean when you want to travel overseas? Let's clear up exactly how it works.
The magic number you need to burn into your memory is 5. For 5 years, starting from the date the visa was granted, your child has a travel facility. This means they can leave and come back to Australia as many times as you want within that 5-year window. Think of it as your golden period for flexible international travel.
And that leads to the obvious next question, right? What happens when those 5 years are up? You want to go on a family holiday or visit relatives overseas. How does your child get back into Australia as a permanent resident? Well, you basically have 2 clear paths forward. Path number 1 is to apply for what's called a resident return visa, or an RRV. Now, the absolutely crucial part here is that you have to apply for it before you leave Australia. The second option, which is the more long-term solution, is for your child to become an Australian citizen. That gets them an Australian passport and with it, unrestricted travel. So how do you keep track of that all-important 5-year date so it doesn't sneak up on you? The best tool for the job is the government's online system called VEVO. It stands for Visa Entitlement Verification Online. You can log in anytime and see the exact expiry date for your child's travel facility. No guesswork needed. And that brings us perfectly to our final section, planning your child's future. We've talked about the immediate stuff, the medium-term rules. Now let's look at the ultimate goal for so many families: that journey towards becoming an Australian citizen. So this is a really important distinction. When does the clock for citizenship eligibility actually start ticking? Well, it's not the day the visa was granted. A lot of people get this wrong. For citizenship purposes, your child's permanent residency officially begins on the day they physically step foot in Australia on this Subclass 101 visa. That first arrival date is day 1.
This timeline lays it out beautifully. Day 1, they arrive and their permanent residency starts. Then, over the next 4 years, they'll need to live in Australia and meet some specific presence requirements. After they've met those conditions, usually after 4 years, they may become eligible to apply to be an Australian citizen, really solidifying their place in this country for good. All right, let's just quickly boil it all down to the absolute must-remembers. Number 1, this visa is the foundation for an entire life in Australia. Number 2, that 5-year travel facility date is the most important date to keep an eye on. 3, remember, permanent residency is the essential first step on that path to citizenship. And finally, always keep your details updated with the department. So there you have it. Your child's Australian journey has officially begun. From their first day of school to exploring this incredible country, a world of opportunity is waiting. The paperwork is done, the journey started. So looking ahead, what's the very first future milestone you're excited to plan for together?